Hey Charles,
What is up?
how's your day going?
It's going really good. I have a bunch of meetings. Things are going well. You can feel the when there's traction in the business, and now's it's one of these days. So quite happy
Awesome.
about it. How about you?
Yeah, same. It's been this month has definitely been more positive than not. So
Yeah, I
been a
think
lot of fun.
it's also due to people. I mean, end of September. There's just more money flooding in the market at this time. Like Christmas is coming in like 2 months. And
Hmm.
I don't know, people want to invest and they want to
Last quarter
have
of the
gifts
year.
for their children.
Yep, last quarter of the year, man. Everybody wants to get on it. So
Yeah, exactly. Ready to roll, ready to start?
yeah, sure.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Today we have Michael James on our podcast. He is the founder of Noggin Branding. And we will discuss about the whole array of stuff. Can you start by introducing yourself, Michael?
Yeah. Hi everybody. Thanks Charles for having me on the podcast today. Yes, I did start Noggin Branding about 10 years ago. As of this November 1st, will be 10 years. And so I just had my 35th birthday on September 12th. And we focus in full website design, search engine optimization, social media management, advertising, and analytics.
Nice. Why Noggin? Where did the name came from?
That's pretty funny, actually. So my dad, since Google was not really a thing and wasn't there where you could ask or recommend something, back then my dad would say, if you're stuck and you can't figure something out, use your noggin. And so I turned my entire business into that. And so basically, I have to use my noggin all day to help out my customers. So
It's a good one.
thanks.
How is it to have your birthday one day after 9/11? Let's say the 11th of September.
It's kind of interesting, honestly, Charles, because it's an interesting reminder. I remember that morning of the 11th
Yeah.
really. I went over to my neighbor's house. She drove us to school that day, and we saw the plane hit the second building while we
Holy
were in
shit.
her living room. And then we drove to school, and we were thinking it was like a movie scene,
Oh my
like
God.
CNN or whoever we were watching it through. We thought it was a movie. We didn't know that was like reality until after like that set in about an hour or two after school. And I don't think there was a lockdown or anything like that, but like everyone's TV and radio was on listening.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. So my when the 12th comes around, I have time to look into my life, where I'm at, be very grateful
Yeah.
for being 35, 34, all these, and being here and being able to share what I'm up to. So I'm
Man.
every day I'm grateful, but on my birthday it's an extreme resonance with that. It's huge.
That is special. That is very special. I still remember also where I was at that time. I
Mm,
mean, Canadian has have always been like allies to Americans. Obviously, we're kind of in the same boat. Like I often say, Quebec culture is European, it's English Canadian, and it's American in various percentages. And I was in a classroom and like where I'm from, like Montreal's 4 hours from New York. And yeah, I just remember like looking at the clock and being scared. I was in first grade, so I was like
mm,
6 years old and old enough to understand the implications of that. And that was a really, really weird day. Um, COVID was kind of well, I mean, obviously older and different emotional resiliency at that age, but
mm,
how
mm.
how would you say COVID was different from 9/11 in terms of yeah, the events and
Yeah.
how would one stay marked by them?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I was actually on a a kind of a spiritual journey, to be honest, Charles.
Okay.
I took my van out
Yeah,
going. I went to Los Angeles, so I left Bellingham,
yeah,
went to Los Angeles, which is 15 hours from here.
yeah.
Took the van, and I have a converted Sprinter van, and so I
Nice.
went down to Los Angeles. I just wanted to check out. It was right before Valentine's Day
Yeah,
of 2020, and so I was down there. I hung out for a couple weeks. I ended up spending 3.5 weeks. Ended up going to the Grand Canyon, and it was right as I was coming home, I heard about all this through. Kind of turned on the radio to see what
Hmm.
was going on because I had been pretty checked out for a couple of weeks. And so I turned on the radio and I had heard about this Wuhan incident, and
Yeah.
they were getting facts and, kind of talking about the Chinese airport and maybe closing that down if I remember right. I don't
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
exact details, but anyways, 3 days after I come back to Bellingham, everything in our town closed down. Everything. You couldn't go buy toilet paper or
Yeah.
food or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
So for me, being 34 when that happened, or something like, yeah, 34, having a successful marketing agency that's helping a lot of clients
Hmm.
make every dollar through their
Hmm.
website, their
Hmm.
retail location,
Hmm.
like all their SEO and social, I took it as like, uh-oh, I'm going to get a lot of phone calls. We're going to
Okay.
have some people getting, they're going to have to fire a bunch of staff.
Yeah.
They're going to have to cut back inventory maybe because if China closes down, everybody closes down in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
So that was my first thing, was supply chain
Yeah.
and, certain products and services. And so I just had this initial like, what can I do to get ahead of this and
Okay.
not be in the back burner? And
Okay.
so I was very proactive and I got on social and I was giving motivation and ideas in how to combat this, how to best set up your retail and online business so you can be visible,
Mm.
because everybody's going to be on their computer and phone looking for products and services during these times.
Yeah.
Now's the best time to amp up your business.
It's a good one. How did you deal with it psychologically? Because I remember I was an Airbnb in Cuernavaca, Mexico, which was a nice
Mm.
place. That they had a
Mm-hmm.
pool and everything. I've chose the Airbnb because of that, and the gym, and they started closing down the damn gym and the damn pool. So
Mm.
I was quite
Yeah.
pissed. But I think I
Yeah.
was kind of far west mindset. Like if you ask me,
Mm.
I felt like a cowboy, and I was
Mm.
excited at some point, but I was also a bit anxious. I
Mm-hmm.
was taking it day by day. How did you take it on your side?
I was personally stressed. I didn't show it because so many people were asking me, what do I do? How should I think about this? And I was feeling their energy. So I was feeling really depleted from everyone around me because they were stressed. They didn't know what to do financially with their
Mhm.
business, with all that's going on. So I took, I think, a lot of that and really tried to show up as positive and resourceful for them as I could. Um, but internally I was stressed. I know that for the first week watching the news and whatnot, I was really worried for the world first and foremost. You don't want to see people dying or get this crazy thing that could infect people and sick or die or whatever the situation. Nobody knew back then. So it was really overwhelming. It was not comprehensible to know what was coming next.
Mm.
And man, we're almost 2 years into this and it's still going on. Like, kind of mind blowing. So
It's crazy.
to think about, the first week, first month, like I remember like I was like, oh sweet, I get to hang at home and, play on the computer more because I love what I do. And
Yeah,
so I was
so
like,
good.
sweet, I get to film more, go take photos and drone and,
Mm.
do stuff. And so I saw it as great. I get to go mountain bike, I get to go outside, and which I did a lot of, but a lot of people were locked inside. So, for me, I'd say I stayed pretty positive as I could. But yeah, it was interesting times. It still is. I mean, we have no idea what's going to happen next week or next month. So,
Yeah. And it's been so interesting. I think for people that are kind of emotionally mature or spiritually mature was a cool journey. In the end, it was a positive one.
mm-hmm.
There's been multiple positive things out of this very negative events. Like for me, for example, I don't tend to like crowds a lot. So less
Mm-hmm.
people, um, where to start, like Zoom meetings, they're so much better than, well, I mean,
Yeah,
people go with Zoom fatigue and all of that, but me, it
yeah,
just doubled down on my thesis and my vision with my company that we've always been remote first.
yep,
It's been positive for business too, because people
mm-hmm.
have fully shifted online. I think this has been very painful for older folks, not only from a disease perspective, But
Mm-hmm.
from a mindset perspective, lots of old folks, they're, oh, my notepad is still good, good old
Mm-hmm.
card to go see my clients. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that they've been hurt by that, way more than we do. But on the other side, they have more experience dealing with these kinds of events. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been interesting to say the least.
Yeah. Like my grandmother, I called her maybe the first month and I was like, "Hey, what's kind of history been like since like the Great Depression and then
Yeah,
these banking, these huge
these
financial episodes?"
crashes.
And I was like, "What do you foresee happening?" And she's like, I'm trying to stay positive here, but she's like, "I have no idea what I'm watching on the news. I don't know if that's real." Like that's what my 80-year-old grandmother was telling me.
That's another
And
problem, like news
what is
is a
real or
problem
not?
for older people. That's where they get
Yeah.
their information, and news
Yep.
is full of crap, like
Yep.
I don't own a TV and I never will plug into CNN. I
Mm-hmm.
used to I went to visit my own parents in Canada not so long ago, and
Hmm.
always the damn TV on, and guess what's in there, the
Yep.
news:
It's
COVID,
the
COVID,
news.
COVID, COVID, COVID. Just this is enough to have your mental aura and energy affected.
Yep.
So it's
Whether
just
you're
one.
listening or not, it's
Yeah,
subliminal messaging, right? Like
exactly.
you and I know that from marketing and advertising and all this, the remote work, like, you personally get to drop into so many people's homes and businesses with your level of work.
Yeah.
I was pretty like physically in people's actual businesses here in
Hmm.
town and in Seattle because
Hmm.
I was on I'm on a huge roadway here where I can travel down the 5 and
Hmm.
get into a ton of cities really quick. But
Okay.
now since Zoom, I've been able to 10x my meetings. Instead
Yeah.
of 5 or 6 meetings a day, I'm in like 25 to 40 meetings a day. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
I love it
That's good and
personally.
bad.
I
Like,
think it's
are they
awesome.
mostly sales meetings, or are they clients meetings mostly?
Some of it's sales, some of it's networking,
Okay.
and some of it's trainings.
Okay.
Because I'm doing sales for Noggin Branding, I do
Yeah.
trainings for our startup Solid Number, and
Yeah.
then I do cold calling and networking for both. So
Okay.
it's pretty involved, but I get to put on many different hats, so it
Mm.
makes it fun.
Yeah, it's like, what's the ratio? How many percent is sales? Let's say 25, 30%.
20 to 25, yeah.
Interesting. How do you split your time in between so many businesses? Because I checked your LinkedIn. Obviously, you're into many things. You probably believe in cross-pollination theory, just like I do. How do you split your days in between those three or four businesses?
Yeah, so for me, I have a lot of services as well as products that I have to maintain. So
Mhm.
for me, it's finding which ones need immediate attention, which ones can be wait, 4 to 6 or 8 hours, and and then as far as like the service side, when can I find 30 minutes or an hour here and there to where I'm actually building and producing and executing on the service side.
Mhm.
For the sales process, either I'm setting up my own call lists
Okay.
or I have our growth agents and sales agents
Mhm.
providing times and days when they're available as well as the potential customer. So they're setting up meetings for me.
Got it.
So it's varies every day. I look at my calendar 3 days to a week
Mhm.
out, and I see what holes are there and what I could fill it with personally, as well as then keep available for our teams and what have you.
Got it.
I'm also working on a lot of stuff privately, a lot of new products, and so I have to have availability to work with our legal and accountants and stuff like that, attorneys and all that stuff. So
Got it. Interesting. What's your philosophy on being deep vs being narrow, and uh, being focused on one thing vs cross pollination? Like, you're a spiritual guy, you meditate. What are your theories and your thinking on being focused on one thing vs being focused on many?
So I've fought with this in the past, and I've also taught this. So I
Hmm.
personally fight this almost on every task.
Okay.
So I look at it and I say, is this going to take 5 minutes or an hour?
Mhm.
And so then I calculate based on when in the day I'm going to be able to work on this thing, right?
Okay.
Based on meetings and lunch, and I got to go run around town or whatever I got to go do. And so I'm calculating, I think worst case it's going to be an hour, let's say. Usually it's always under that. I always give a pretty big buffer. So then that way, if I get it done in, say, 20 minutes, then I've got the rest of my list. And I'm like, what did I think was going to take 40 minutes or an hour? And then boom, I get that one done in the next 20 minutes or something. So for me, it's like checking off certain things. I assume they're going to take longer because I know that I usually will get it done a lot quicker. So for that way, it alleviates a lot of stress because I'm like, oh wow, I checked that off in 20 minutes instead of an hour or something.
How about your personal stuff? How do you segment your life? How many
But
minutes
I
is it?
focus on that one task fully. I don't have different things going on. I focus on that one thing and I get it done as efficiently as I can,
Yeah, that
and
makes
then I move
sense.
on. So
Do
I
you base your philosophy on the GTD method a little bit?
what's the GTT method?
Get things done by Paul Allen, I believe his name is.
Oh
He's like a first productivity guru, I'd say.
yeah,
It's basically yes about setting priorities and having everything in a calendar.
yeah,
So like
yeah. I
yeah, I use Trello Planyway, which has my sales calls, my team
mm,
calls. Then I add to dos in there, and just like you, I put 5, 10 minutes and order of importance. I
mm-hmm,
also like set goals daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. Daily is pretty cool because it just keeps me, short term focus, and I try
mm-hmm.
to also have my team do that. So is that like a part of your philosophy? And there's also the Eisenhower matrix, I believe it's called, with like the urgent and important and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You subscribe to that?
Yeah, and I honestly, the way I kind of do it, depending on what it is, I kind of check in with that thing energetically, and I
Okay.
see like importance versus what time involvement for me. So it's again, that's kind of how I'm calculating like, when I'm going to do it in the day and like, work on these things. I used to have, in a previous past, maybe say 8, 9 years ago, I would work on 10 different things at once because I had interns, I had employees, I had all these different things going on. And sometimes it worked. I was able to pull it off, but it was definitely harder to maintain. Where
Okay.
if I get one thing done, I think I'm consistently more efficient. It might seem like more daunting because you've listed it out like this and you're like,
Mhm.
oh my God, there's 80 things I got to do today. But, you start knocking them off like you kind of mentioned, and, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. It's pretty amazing what you can do.
And what does Noggin look like nowadays in terms of employees and clients numbers?
So we have no employees. We use a lot of subcontractors.
Okay,
So right now we have like 15 subcontractor other marketer companies,
got it.
and I basically provide sales and they're managing a lot of the accounts. I do certain work, they provide 80+% of the work.
Got it. How do you book meetings? Mostly through emails, through cold calls? What does it look like?
So some of it is I'm prospecting who I want to work with,
Yeah.
and then we have some of these marketing companies, they have lists that they want me to call on,
Okay.
as well as then for Solid Number, our startup, some of those sales agents have a lot of cold call lists that I call
Okay.
on as well. And so I'll train our sales agents that way. And so what I'll do is I'll have them on Zoom like this. I'll pull
Yeah.
up my phone
Yeah.
and I will live call the customer
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
will mute the line so the guy on Zoom, isn't making noise.
Yeah.
And then we're live calling.
Okay. That's pretty good. What is your answer rate nowadays? You get mobile phone numbers because I've been also doing calls. My guys have been doing calls. Answer rate is a bit lower. How do you make sure you connect with those people?
So if it depends on if you're getting into the office or if you get their number directly.
Yeah.
But what I've done is I've researched either their website or social media presences, either the companies or the person I'm actually calling,
Okay.
for like 1 to 10 minutes before I make the phone call.
Okay.
So that way I usually have 1 to 3 talking points, hopefully of interest to that person or that business I'm calling in on.
Got it. Where do
So
you get
if
your
they
mobile
answer, if
numbers?
so it's sometimes online, or I'll call into the front desk, and the front desk person will be providing it.
Okay. When you say online, it's on their website or
I
Facebook?
sweet talk the front desk people.
Yeah, the
You have
gatekeeper.
to, because they're the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Most guys I work with, they get the door closed on them. I get the personal number of the owner or whoever I need to talk to in the managerial space.
Okay. Okay. That
But
that's good.
it's a process. It's, most gals or guys, if I'm calling in on the front desk, very hesitant initially. But if I have those talking points, they usually let me through. It's in
So how do you sweet talk
90%.
them?
Again, it's finding those points of the business that I think you know, no sales 90% of sales guys don't do that research before they call in. They're just
Mm.
hammering numbers all day, and they just want to sell. So what I do with the front desk gal is I say, how's your week been? What are you guys working on? What do you like to do at the company? What's your involvement? And I get them involved, and usually they tell me enough, and they're like, oh wow, the guy's actually engaged, and they give me and then they're like, oh, who are you trying to talk to? Oh, the owner. I'm trying to talk to the manager, Jim, because I saw it on their website or their LinkedIn. And
Okay.
then they go, oh, here's Jim's number.
That's
It's
good. I can
pretty
learn from
slick.
that.
Pretty slick.
Yeah, pretty slick.
I do it
Uh,
every day, so it's a lot.
yeah, I need to restart again, like that type of prospecting. Certainly interesting, but I
Mhm.
rely mostly on email outreach. Some people you will reach via phone, via VS email. They won't be reachable, so that can certainly be interesting.
I'd
I'm
actually never email people anymore. I just call them.
okay. Yeah, it's email
Like
outreach
if
is
you
pretty good
checked
though.
my email, I get probably 800 emails a day. So
Okay.
like I have to fine tune, be like which ones am I going to answer again quickly versus can they wait 30 minutes or an hour, 5 hours or whatever. And then um the uh but imagine if you called me, Charles, versus you were in the 800. What's going to
Yeah,
stand out to me if it'd be the phone call. So
you get
that's
a
why
lot of
I
emails though. I
call.
don't know why you get so much. Like
It's
I get
business. I
mostly
mean,
from my clients, yeah, but at around probably 50, 80 per day,
mhm.
But yeah,
I'm
sure.
involved in a lot of things. So
Yeah, yeah, that's
we
the
have a lot.
thing.
We have a lot of stuff. We're processing loans. Like we're doing a lot of stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm seeing. And I see
I want to get notified on stuff so I can track the stuff for our teams and notify them like, oh, guess what? You're getting a commission in the next 30 minutes. Here you go. So it's pretty motivating. So
yeah, definitely. And you're busy, you get lots of emails, and yeah, it won't be as impactful as a phone call. The challenge is, yeah, getting that phone number. I
mhm.
personally don't have my phone online um, at like a lot of places. But the funny thing, well, first, I don't take calls nowadays. I don't do that. So like I won't let people pitch me on
Mhm.
stuff just because I'm too busy doing other things. That's
Yep.
the first thing. And second, I don't get cold emails on my mailbox. So just like you're saying, hey, like yeah, calling is pretty hot right now. Like I think if people would cold email me, that I would actually probably respond, because I
Oh,
don't get
okay.
much cold emails
Gotcha.
at both of my company emails. Funny enough, um,
Yeah.
but I think both are super interesting, especially when they're used together. Um, in
Mhm.
multi-touch sequences. For example,
Mhm.
step one is an email, step two is a call, step three is a LinkedIn outreach, and so forth. I think that can be super powerful.
Oh,
Um,
totally.
I want to shift gears here and talk about the necklace that you have behind you. We've briefly touched on the
Oh, yeah, yeah,
spirituality point here, but what
yeah.
has been your spiritual journey like? Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah. So honestly, I think I've been more conscious of the journey for say 6, 7 years.
Okay.
And I'd say from a very young child, I've been doing things that are considered spiritual and spiritual practices, humming, doing Om, like
Okay.
holding those notes.
Okay.
I used to play with like Matchbox or like those little metal cars, and every single car I would make a different hum to it,
Okay.
and I would hold those hums as they're going through the town that I'd, whatever. But I realized all these little things from a very young age. I've been actually doing small little practices, just
Okay.
not knowing what they are. So about
Okay.
6, 7 years ago, Charles, I started working with different coaches, consultants, life purpose, this, that, hand readers, practitioners of all these different modalities. And basically, for me, I show up as a blank canvas and I just allow them to show up with their service, their proposition or value, and I allow it to stick to me as best it can.
Okay.
And I see how it translates or transmutes me in some way instantly in that same day, week, month, whatever. And then I come back in and let them know. And so that's how I've decided on who I want to work with in those spaces and pay, exorbitant amounts of money to further those conversations and learn more of your life purpose. And, some of these people I've worked with for 5, 6 years.
Okay.
And, it's, yeah, I would consider myself very open to the experiment and journey.
Okay.
And it's like, for me, it's like taking a vacation, but I'm doing vacations monthly through meditations, group settings, all sorts of, events digitally or in person. But
What
I
stuck
have
the
really committed
most?
myself to that.
What stuck the most so far? Because and tell me about hand reading and tarot, because that stuck with me as like woo woo type of thing.
Hmm.
Yet I'm also keeping an open mind on pretty much everything. So is it still in the woo woo phase, the hand reading stuff? And tell me what stuck most with you.
So the funny thing is I've heard of these things in the past, and I've even seen people, their services or businesses out in the
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
and I've never been like on the negative or, oh, that's stupid, or I want to know how it works. I'm
Exactly.
that I'm
That's my
intrigued.
mindset
And
too.
so the reason I've worked with the people I've worked with is due to me feeling some sort of connection to that.
Okay.
The reason I haven't worked with others is because I didn't feel an initial attraction or pull to that. The
Yep.
reason I bought those necklaces is because I saw them and I had an initial pull and
Mm-hmm.
attraction to them.
Yep.
There were probably 100 other necklaces, but I saw those and I was like, I want that one. That one
Yep.
really
Yep. Yep.
resonates with me.
Mm-hmm.
That one, that blue one is lapis lazuli. Look that up for business purposes. Huge manifesting tool, law of attraction. It's a big one.
Okay.
And so for me, it's it's been this, say, 6 year journey of learning what the terminology is, finding the right people that resonate with you. You might meet 10 and one might be the one that you maybe decide to work with.
Okay.
Or maybe you meet 10 and 9 of them turn you off so bad to the experience you never ever experience it. Imagine
Got
how
it.
many cars have you owned in your life, Charles? How many
Three,
of them have been new versus used?
all used. I don't
Okay.
have a car right now, thank God.
So imagine tomorrow you go buy your first new car. The
Yeah.
experience, the reality, the future, the change of events from everything you've thought about a certain vehicle is going to change tomorrow because of that new car smell. Maybe you went from cloth seats to leather. Maybe you went from a
Mm-hmm.
4 cylinder to a 6 or 8 cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
And the thrill of driving is now a passion instead of, it's just, I need to go to work. I need to go get groceries.
Yeah.
Now you've created a whole nother hobby and
An
a lifestyle
experience, a
because
feeling.
just the experience behind it.
Yeah.
So for the spiritual stuff, it's the same. You need to have an experience.
Okay. So connecting with the person, whatever that person does, whatever the product,
Yep.
if you have a
Yep.
connection with what you're hearing and feeling, you'll just move ahead with that and experience it and see if it's for
Hmm.
you or if it's not for you.
Maybe you'll make that decision immediately. Maybe it'll be next month or a year. But it'll be more up in here and you'll be conscious of it than not, I would assume. But if you're
Interesting.
looking for something, it will show up. The universe will have it show up in your day, week. It'll show up at some point.
I believe with that. I subscribe to that. It's been highly interesting. I know that your schedule is quite busy, mine too. So thank you for showing up today. That was quite an interesting conversation, short one,
Absolutely.
but full of value, packed with value. So hey, Mike, thanks for your time.